Okay, so as many of you know, last week I attended the Washington Library Association conference in Tacoma and also had the pleasure of visiting some of our libraries in person, which was great. Thank you to everyone who showed me around your spaces. Um, Unquestionably one of the biggest attended sessions that I went to was a session hosted by the Washington State Library regarding how federal funding impacts their programs. It was initially, I think, supposed to be just kind of like an informative presentation of general info given what has happened in the last month or so, and even just last week. Uh, Brianna Hoffman, who is the current, what is she like, training person for State Library and former executive director of WLA, ended up having to adjust her presentation and also had several other state library employees join her for the presentation. It more or less went over what you will find in this LibGuide. I'm sharing the link again so you can join me. Um, but it was a tough presentation to watch. Um, I think one of the comments I heard after was um, something like watching our state library staff eulogize their own jobs, was basically what it was. So they did create um, this LibGuide so that they can update um, interested folks on what is going on. So um, basically, IMLS funds the Lista grants, which um, fund a lot of our Washington State Library programs, 3.9 million. We also get funding, the state library also gets funding from the state budget, and that budget request was also kind of slashed. So one of so here are a list of everything that gets funded by Lista. So the audio and ebooks that are available through the Washington Digital Library Consortium, um, that is, used by 40 different library systems with the Libby app. So a lot of our public libraries there. The state database licenses. So that's going to be our Gale package. So if you are one of the schools that subscribes to the Gale package, federal funds cover that half. Um, when I spoke to Jude Guzzi about this, she did say that she will be speaking with Gale about this uh, change in access to funds prior to this last year of the contract. And that's also why you have not seen an email reminding you that the renewal period would be right now, because she is attempting to get more information about Gale about how they can work with us on that. AskWA chat service is mostly covered by Lista, and the staff person, Sarah Pate, who manages that, is also funded through federal funds. So this is a big one for us. Obviously, I spoke to Sarah Pate about where our community college costs were on this, and she said that she would be talking to SpringShare and her boss in the coming weeks to try and figure out um, just I mean, like obviously they have a big spring share contract for multiple products. So they have not parsed out um, exactly how much, even though it says um, how much here. Um, I got the impression that that wasn't particularly like detailed. It was more of an estimate, but she's going to be looking into what that contract actual costs. I don't believe anyone from the state board was at WLA. And since state board does cover the other half, I'll probably be reaching out to Michael Brown about that. Potentially, I also told her that, you know, Waxahachlick has um, its own spring share contract. So, um, you know, if we needed to move the co-op, because if they have to, like, they may have to just straight up cancel LibChat, so they wouldn't be able to host it, even if SBCTC could cover your guys's portions. That also doesn't include the public libraries. So, yeah, the digitized historical collections, any of the grants that have been awarded for digitizing those projects, um, potentially the management and administration of this program also could go. The rural library support, many of our community colleges, you are very close to these libraries, and you may see impacts with them. Same with our tribal libraries. Um, some of the training grants have already been canceled. So if you received a professional development grant from Washington State Library for travel or conference, those have already been kind of rescinded because they cannot award them. Some of the good news-ish is that state funding covers many of the current workforce development programs, such as North Star and LinkedIn Learning. But because um, federal funding supports the FTE to administer those, some of the state funding would have to go toward keeping Joyce, the administrator, employed to continue to administer those things that do have funding. I know that a lot of these programs, like the Microsoft computer science certs and all of those kinds of, those are all part of the workforce stuff that is state funded, not federally funded. So those will continue. We've had a couple people join us. I'm going to add the website back in chat. Again, our rural libraries, the LibTech program would go away. So access to broadband. A really sad one, of course, the Talking Book and Braille Library and our institutional library services at prisons and Eastern and Western state hospitals. So that's a big one. Our youth services, so summer reading, again, like this may not directly impact your, like our community colleges, but uh, the ripple out. So certifications for our school librarians, clock hours, development opportunities. They were going to do a cool teen internship grant program. That has all been canceled. And then as they kind of identify additional grants and special projects that come from those list of funds, they will be listing them here. This is kind of the the short version. So these are great bullet points to share out and yell about. And I, cannot tell you what to do in regards to talking to our state representatives, but this is, the things that they need to realize will be impacted if they slash um, the state library budget on the state side, in addition to all of the federal funding. This is where they are placing news stories that come up over this. It's been quiet since about the 4th or 5th. I'll get more into that, but if you want to read depressing news stories, there's that. And then this is an actual embedded spreadsheet of the list of grants that have already been paused or canceled. And that is because um, the federal administration, interim director of IMLS, contacted 3 specific states, Connecticut, California, and Washington, retroactively canceling funding mid-fiscal year effective April 1st. So several of our community colleges, I have already heard from individuals who were affected by this. This is getting updated um, almost hourly, I think, as things get identified and confirmed. This is going to be a big one in my own community. Spokane uses Folio for their catalog, and I did not realize how much the state was supporting that. So, yeah, everyone will be impacted. As far as news, here is the actual lawsuit that was filed. And it was kind of, I think it was Rhode Island and Connecticut, their AGs, but there are 21 states party to this, suing the president in relation to these actions. So let me pull this. I just like searched IMLS something and but I think I searched US District Court um IMLS case and got this. But so this is like the actual filing here. The state of Rhode Island is handling it. This is a nonprofit website that kind of makes it easier to find information as to what's going on. So you can see all the different states that have filed additional exhibits. And I will share some of those. Some of them are not available publicly. You can see a lot of action adding the attorneys from the various jurisdictions. That's what this ProHack Vice is. So bringing in the attorneys for all of the different states that are involved. The big news was that on Thursday or Friday, it was announced that there will be a motion for a temporary restraining order. And they were supposed to have response from the federal government on or before today, which is nothing has come in yet. And then they also have a hearing set on that preliminary injunction motion for this Friday at 10 a.m. And that is when that viewing information becomes available. It will be here on this site. So here is the link to that. You can see that, they add the links once they've got them. But it is in person, so they're figuring out how to do that. Um, here are some, I'm assuming it's Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern, because it is Rhode Island, so 7 a.m. These are a few of the exhibits that were um, attached to the filing. So this first one is the letter putting all of the IMLS employees on leave. And then this second one was an email that was sent out just after that from an IMLS employee saying that they're not around. So kind of crazy and but just kind of an example of some of the things that are getting submitted. I took a look at some of the other exhibits here just to kind of see what they were. Exhibit 1 is, like a supplement about the state of Arizona not being able to draw on their list of funds um, and getting no response from anyone. And this is, of course, like they weren't one of the states that was specifically targeted for the cancellation of those funds mid um, mid-year. So yes, very was very emotional in that session. Almost everyone who spoke would have all of the programs that they administer canceled and, like not have a job because their job is, 40 to 70% supported by list of funds. So our state library does a lot with that 3.9 million. So, I think currently what the state library is recommending is to keep an eye on this hearing. Um, Even if they get the injunction, it's unclear how that will impact Washington State's ability to access the funds that were already approved and congressionally mandated. But yeah, we're kind of just waiting right now. I have some ideas of, like how Wactaclick might be able to um, support our community colleges through this, but I need to have conversations with the state board and our executive committee and get more information from folks like Sarah Pate and Jude Guzzi. So until then, unfortunately, I don't know that there's a lot more that anyone can say. The state is also facing a huge shortfall, as Amy has noted in the chat. Um, the cut from the state for the state library, there was talk. It wasn't part of the official presentation, but it did come up. The state library requested something like 7 million, 6.8, 6.9 million. And the currently proposed budgets, because there's a couple of them under consideration, the best version for the state library is like 2.4 million. And the worst is like 1.7, 1.8. So, if you're looking at, they receive 4 million federal and generally need 6 to 7 from the state to operate and may only be getting 2. That is an 80% reduction in the state library's operating budget. So, yeah, they are committed to getting information out as they have it, but trying really hard not to put too much out when it's still kind of speculation on things. So that's why I think we haven't seen any updates here because I mean, like that news of the hearing only came out on Friday, but all it means is that there's going to be a hearing this Friday, and we don't know what will happen. Um, before I turn off the recording, are there questions or anything? Did anybody miss a link that they, would like shared again? No. Okay. I am going to stop the recording as that is the end of our informational session for today.